Okay, we're now joined by the University of Alabama defensive coordinator Kirby Smart, linebacker Denzel Devall, and defensive back Eddie Jackson. Welcome, guys, and Coach, your thoughts about the game.
Well, first, I'd like to thank the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Committee for having us. It's my first Cotton Bowl. Been to a lot of good bowls since I've got into coaching, but my first chance to come to this bowl. We've really been impressed so far as a team and a university with the standard they've created and the host people, especially at our hotel. They've been really gracious to us through some tough weather conditions, but kind of different than what we've seen before in maybe New Orleans or Miami. But it's been a good event so far. I'm excited about the progress this defense has made this year. This is a great group of young men. Absolutely everything we've asked them to do from the first day of spring practice last year when we challenged them about the way the season ended last year, they've responded to that, and they've answered every challenge we've given them. And I'm really proud of them. It's a special group that I've been involved with, a lot of seniors on this defense and a lot of guys that I help recruit that are special to me, and they've all kind of answered the bell and done what we've asked them to do. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, you guys need to maybe pull your microphones a little closer to you when you get ready to speak so that they can hear you a little bit. And we'll take our first question for coach or student athletes. Put your hand up. Got a question right up here on the front left-hand side. Hold on, ladies.
Coach Tony Cornish Jr., WTVY in Dothan. You talk about this being a special group. Is that really the parameter that you based your decision to stay and run this gamut out with this team you've sweated with and really, formed a kinship with over these years?
Well, no, not really. The defensive line cornered me in a room and said that if I didn't stay, that there'd be an altercation. So I was forced. No, I'm just kidding. This group of kids is special to me because a lot of them I help recruit. Fortunately, the University of Georgia President Moorhead and Greg McGarity allowed me to coach in this game, which I thought was awesome. And University of Alabama allowed me to coach in the game because without both those parties being willing to do this, I wouldn't be able to do it. But at the end of the day, it's about these guys, and it wouldn't be fair to them to coach them all season and go through what we've been through as a unit and then not coach in this game. It was the right thing to do, still the right thing to do. So I'm honored that they wanted me to do it and that I was allowed to do it.
Got a question on the outside left, and then we'll come to the front. Right over there. Right, there you go.
Mike Rada, ABC 3340 in Birmingham. Kirby, along those same lines, I don't think there's another occupation in the world that would allow you to do what you're able to do. Why is college football different that you can serve kind of two masters, if you will?
I would say it's different because of the timing of things. Obviously, when people are having job searches and that kind of stuff, the timing falls at different times. There's a big gap from our last game to this game, and a lot goes on in our profession. So you have to be professional about it. You don't have to be enemies with everybody in this profession, and I think that's kind of indicated by how we've been able to handle this and be able to move forward with it. But at the end of the day, guys, it's not about me. It's about this game, and it's about these players who've earned the right to be here. I know a lot of the media attention wants to go to that, but that's not what I'm focusing on. I can promise you that. My focus is on getting these guys ready to play and having them ready to play a great game against Michigan State.
Got a question here on the front.
Hondo Carpenter from Spartan Nation. For both Denzel and Eddie, I'd like you both to address this, if you would, please. Michigan State's Connor Cook is a different quarterback than some of the guys that you face. Clearly, you face some good ones, but he is a game changer with his ability to go down the field. Could you give me your thoughts after watching him specifically on film?
Well, I feel, Connor Cook, Michigan State, they have a great team, especially their offense. They have a lot of good receivers. But he has a strong arm. He's accurate. We've seen the throws he makes on film. I mean, he's just an accurate guy. He's a big guy. He's long. Like I say, he's a very deep threat. He's a real deep threat. So we just got to go out there and play our defense and make sure we go over our keys to the perfect.
Personally, I feel like he's one of the best quarterbacks we done played all season. It just comes down to reading our keys, getting the call, and executing the call. So, that's what we've been doing all week, and hopefully carry over in the game.
We got a question on the platform all the way at the back.
Tom Menino, WVTM TV in Birmingham. Kirby, I know you said your focus is on this game and winning this game, but how difficult has it been for you to balance your new job and the job you're in this week?
It's really been a timing issue because, I mean, there's a week where I was on the road recruiting, obviously for the University of Georgia, that there's a lot of focus there. And then we got to come back to Tuscaloosa and really focus on the Michigan State game during this recruiting dead period. So obviously it's a challenge. It's a time management challenge. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much you can do each day. And once you accept that and know that you got to focus on the task at hand, which the task at hand is to get ready for Michigan State, that's what we're focused on here.
We got another question in the back, and then we'll move up a little bit.
Hey, Coach. Ted Madden, Channel 8 here in Dallas. Have you talked to Coach Herman in Houston? He was in a similar situation last year.
Sure, I actually didn't visit with Tom. I visited with other coaches who have done this and took some advice from those guys, but I really haven't had a chance to visit with Tom about it, no.
We're going to go up here on the aisle, then we'll pass it back.
Hey, Kirby, Rick Carley, Fox 6 in Birmingham. How does this defense compare to some of the others you've had at Bama? That might be a tough question for you because you've had some pretty good ones.
Well, I would say it's unique in that there's a lot of good players on it, and they're kind of spread out throughout the defense. There's good secondary players, good linebacker players, good front players, but probably the biggest difference has been one of the most fun to coach. A lot of good kids. They like practicing. I mean, these guys enjoy practicing. They get out there, and I mean, there's times that we're not trying to go full speed live, and they're out there wanting to tackle, go after the quarterback. The front guys are deep, so they stay fresh. We've got really good, smart guys in the secondary. Outside backers, very experienced. And Ruben, Reggie, Sean inside get to play a lot. So it makes it a little bit different for me because they enjoy practice, where there's been some good defenses in the past. It was like pulling teeth to get them to go out there, but they played good on Saturdays. This group enjoys it. It's a joy to be around them.
Another question back on the back? No? Okay, well then come on up here then. I thought we had a question on the platform. On the aisle over here, about halfway up, and then we'll move to the other side. Just pass it down, Caroline. Just there you go.
Kirby, you mentioned speaking to some other coach. Who did you speak to, and what was the best kind of advice you got on balancing the two jobs?
I spoke to several guys, but the guy that probably meant the most to me was even Dan Quinn of the Atlanta Falcons, because he dealt with the playoff run there with the Seahawks and going to Atlanta, and he talked about utilizing his time, cutting a couple hours out of sleep, getting up in the morning a couple hours early, working on the future job, and then allowing the same number of hours to go to his current game plan, and tried to model myself after that. And when you have free time, you sacrifice a little bit with your family. It's tough because the free time you have, you got to dedicate to your new job, and just managing that's the biggest thing, and understanding that there's an end to this and that you got to move forward.
We got a question on the aisle right, about halfway back on the right.
Kirby, Fred Human, WLS in Lansing. Michigan State has kind of developed a stable of running backs, which Le'Veon Bell is doing in the NFL, and they have 3 or 4 young ones they can run at you. What's the key in stopping that? Or is Connor Cook still the straw that stirs the drink on their offense?
Yeah, I would definitely say Connor Cook's the straw that stirs it. I mean, they're really good. Now, their backs, we've preached to our guys, they have big physical backs. Not a whole lot different than what we're used to at Alabama. So when you start talking about a stable of those guys, they're going to be fresh, and they're going to play a lot of them. They kind of go with a hot hand each game, and each one has a different attribute, but they're all big. And that's tough to defend now when you got an offensive line. This experience is there. There's a ton of starts. Connor Cook, 38, 39, however many starts it is, and such a good leader. There's no defense that we can put out there that he hasn't seen. So for us, that's the challenge, is being able to control Connor Cook and still stop the run game, which they're stubborn with, they're patient with. They know what they're doing in the run game.
Okay, well, we'll take a question. You follow up? Okay, yeah.
Coach Smart, Ken Capps with Dave Campbell's Texas Football. You have several Texas players, state of Texas players on your team. Since Alabama can basically have anybody they want in the country, what is Alabama's strategy for recruiting Texas players?
Well, basically, we try to control a 5-hour radius of the university, but since Texas A&M came into the conference, it's allowed us a little more open doors into the high schools. They're more open and receptive because they see the SEC. They get the exposure a lot better. So since the exposure's been created, we've had a lot more kids interested in us. And that's the kind of thing we kind of got used to, and just went over to recruit the best players we could to try to get them to come over. And we have been fortunate. We play in the SEC West. So a lot of the attention and the things they see are Alabama related.
We're going to go back here. Hold on a second. When you get through with the question, please hand the microphone back so we can move on up to another person. Okay.
Kirby, Jay Sarkar, WLNS TV in Lansing. When you look at Michigan State, their last two games against Penn State, Connor Cook really did a great job airing it out. And then against Iowa, that final drive, they ran something 10, 11 straight times. So when you see that on film, just how does that kind of, just dealing with a dual threat offense, that if you shut down one facet, they can hit you with the other. How are you trying to game plan against that?
Well, it creates balance. Balance creates difficulty. So you have a hard time. You got to control both those aspects, because if you stop one, they can be really strong in the other, like you mentioned. So, I mean, for us, any great team we play, you've got to try to take something away, and you got to try to mix it up so that they're not doing one thing too often. And that's kind of the game plan with these guys. You know, they do a great job. And like I said, we're not going to put a defense out there now that Connor Cook hadn't seen. So at the end of the day, it's not tricking these guys. It's going out there fundamentally sound, being physical, striking blockers, tackling people, not making this game about something it's not. It comes down to these kids and executing, and we got to put them in a situation to execute.
Question on the platform, and then we'll come up to the front.
Kirby, I know you're on the defensive side of the ball, but when you have a Heisman Trophy winner, he gets a lot of attention. Just your overall thoughts on Derrick Henry as a player.
Wow. I mean, just an impressive worker. This guy in our off-season conditioning program was one of the hardest workers we had. He's always at high speed. Some of his GPS numbers are the highest on the team. He likes the weight room, tough, physical, enjoys the game. He's always been that way since coming out of down in Yulee, Florida. So I respect what Derrick's done, his toughness. I think our team kind of takes on his persona and physical nature. So I think he's a great player, obviously.
We got a question on the front here, and then we'll move to the back.
Eddie, Rachel Speaker, UTA Communications. Do you remember playing against Madre London when he played for St. Thomas in high school? And if so, does that bring anything back, or anything else to this game for you?
Yeah, I remember playing against him. In high school, he was a great back, just like he is now, doing the same things. You know, he was a guy that was hard to tackle. He run with, a sense of urgency. He's physical, so we really just have to work on wrapping him up and bringing him to the ground.
Got a question all in the rear.
This is for Eddie and Denzel. If there's an Achilles heel in some people's eyes pertaining to your defense, it could be the defensive backfield. After last year's Ohio State game, do you feel like you've got a chip on your shoulder? You really want to prove to the world that you're the real deal against the Spartans?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, we go in practice day in and day out trying to be, the strongest thing on the defense. Like, we get motivated by our front seven, our D-line. They do a great job, outside backers, inside backers. So that really motivates the secondary to come in every day and step it up, to tackle more, to attack the ball, be more physical. So it really gives a big chip on our shoulder.
Well, going into this year, we preached a lot on finishing. And every day, every practice, we just go in and work hard and work on finishing each and every practice. That way we'll be able to finish each and every game. So for the past 2 years, we never finished, and we just preach a lot this year on finishing the season right. So, I mean, that's our main goal.
Question on the front.
Coach Smart, two questions for you. First of all, in 2011, when you faced the Spartans in the Cap One Bowl, that was a team still building. They're more established today, considerably deeper. Would you talk about the differences? And then secondly, this is the healthiest they have been all year. How difficult is it to game plan when you're going to see them at a health place you don't have on film this year?
First question is probably the most difficult one I've had, because in 2011, there's a lot of water under the bridge since then. I mean, it's been tough for me to say the difference in that team and this team. But the second question, at full strength, they're obviously really, really, really talented. They've had some guys out throughout the year, backs dinged up, different things. So obviously, we wouldn't want to play them at any less than their best. And it's the same way for us. We've had some guys dinged up, some guys injured that we're trying to get back. So that's the best way to play somebody, is when they're at their strength, and we're looking forward to that.
Question on the left, and then we'll come back to the right.
This is for both the players.